Welcome back to the Occult Rejects. Today we're joined by Maximilian Raphael Paul, a senior member of the Ordo Templi Astartes, which said that OTA, an initiatory order within the modern tradition of ceremonial magic that traces its beginnings back to 1970 and the work of its founder, Carol Polk Runyon. What makes Max particularly interesting to me is that his experience with ceremonial magic comes from more than simply reading the literature or experimenting with rituals on his own. He entered into a living initiatory tradition and had the opportunity to study directly under the person who created and developed that system, giving him a perspective on magic that comes from years of practice, initiation, mentorship, and participation within an actual working order. The OTA occupies an interesting place in the history of modern American occultism, drawing upon older currents of Western ceremonial magic while developing its own identity, rituals, methods, and initiatory tradition. More than 50 years after its founding, that tradition is still being practiced and passed from generation of magicians to another, which raises some fascinating questions about what happens when occult knowledge moves beyond books and becomes something transmitted directly between teacher and student. Today, we're going to allow Max to tell his own story, explain the tradition from the inside, and take us wherever the conversation leads. But before we introduce Max, let me introduce the other rejects that are joining us. Judith the Loon is here. What is going on, Judith? How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me, Max. I look forward for you to share your experience with us. And hello, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us. Do you want to promote anything? Let anybody know where they can find all your stuff, just in case they don't know who you are yet.
I'm sorry. Yes,
All right.
and you can find me as the Loon on YouTube, X, and Spreaker, where I do my weekly brunch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then my man Brandon, what is going on? Magus in the media is here.
Why, hello, one and all out there today. This is going to be quite exciting. This is going to be great. Maximilian down here is going to enlighten us all to the definitely things that I don't know much about, which is Polk Runyon himself, as well as your own work. So this is going to be quite a fantastic day, especially for the Day of the Sun. Everyone, follow me, do the thing. Magus in the media, dropping tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Get up and listen to Alan Chapman talk about the craziness of the life that he has lived and what he is doing with Crowley's work and magia. Other than that, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it great. Thank you for having me, Nick, and thank you, Eric, as well as the Loon, for this fine day. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you very much, my man. I appreciate you making it, sir. And last but not least, we got Eric. What is going on, sir? So happy you can make it today.
What's up, guys? Nick, Brandon, Judith, it's good to see y'all again. And Maximilian, it's great to meet you. I'm excited for this conversation. So if you guys want to check me out, you can go find my show, Music, Myth, and Magic, on YouTube at Eric Arcadian. And I actually just dropped a video yesterday about scams that are targeting my creative friends. So like authors, musicians, artists. If you are getting some fishy emails, I talked about that in this video. Kind of different from my usual magical stuff that I talk about, but I've been getting hounded by a lot of spam, so I wanted to bring it to light.
No, that's great. I think that was very important that you brought that up, because I think that goes on quite often, actually. So very good. Thank you, Eric, and thank you for making it again, sir. And finally, the guest himself. What is going on, Max? How are you? And please let everybody know anything you'd like to promote or plug.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm honored. This is real pleasure. So thank you so much. I can think of nothing more fun to do on a nice Sunday afternoon. It's wonderful. We've got a lot of things to plug in the OTA. We've been quite busy over the past few years. My primary vocation is keeping our archmage, keeping Polk moving, keeping him producing, creating. Just last year, at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we produced a series called American Magick. You can find that on Apple and on Tubi, so Apple TV, on Tubi, and on Google or YouTube, and you can watch that. That was a blast to film. It's fascinating. It's actually an expansion on a lot of the work that that Poke had been doing over the past 50 years. Obviously, a lot of people remember Poke from his, I think it was like late 90s Magick of Solomon video. It's a classic. You can find that much to, I think Poke's accepted it now, but originally, much to his chagrin, that it's you can find it on YouTube in a whole bunch of places. It's out there. It's you can find it wherever you like. But if you're interested in any of the titles, any of the books that Poke and the Order has produced, you'll find that on pokerunyon.com. You'll find some of the books on Amazon too, but pokerunyon.com is by far the best place to get it. And one of the most recent, we republished our flagship title. A lot of magicians will remember the accompanying book to the video that Poke made called the Magick of Solomon. And we recently, I took a big role in typesetting and contributing to it, our second edition of the Book of Solomon's Magick, which is now, man, the lengths I went to for this book. Did you know that after the pandemic in Los Angeles, basically all book binders went out of business?
Really?
I had to drive to Arizona for this guy. So this is twice as long as the original Book of Solomon's Magick, and it's freshly typeset with beautiful illustrations. And I took I don't know whether I invented this. I probably didn't. Every time I think I invent something, it turns out no, actually someone got there first. But I very specifically made sure that this book was ergonomic, and that is to say that when you're in the middle of using one of these things, you don't have to take a breath and turn the page to see the rest of it. Each little ritual or whatever it is on its own page, or at least on facing pages in this instance. So this is, again, as you can see, this is his work. We've gone into a great deal of detail. One of the things that I didn't mean to add to this, myself and Frater Solomon, Mike Johnson, he's wonderful. He's been with the OTA for 30 years. It's basically been his whole adult life. He's OG, man. Where I worked with him, and we actually investigated every single one of the Goetia spirits, their origins, in as much as they can be investigated. And that often sometimes involved a lot of etymological excavation. He lovingly called it astral archaeology. I think that's a fun term. And basically discovered, because originally a lot of people well know that Astaroth is the corruption of Astarte and Baal is the corruption of Baal, specifically Baal-Hadad. But a lot of the other spirits in the Goetia are actually very connectable to ancient gods. Many of them, from Beleth, especially Paimon, Andromalius. A lot of these spirits are directly connectable to other. And if you want to learn about who we connected it to, by all means, get yourself a copy of this book. As big ass doorstopper grimoires go, it's actually pretty cheap. Pope likes to just get his content out there. I think it's $85 on his web store. And if you buy it, I also glue little nice gold corners on. I didn't do this because I got lazy for my own, but I personally glue beautiful little brass corners on there so you can have quite the display piece for your library. So there you go. I've said my my spiel. I have peddled my wares.
Peddled my wares. I like it. Oh, that's great, man. A lot of stuff right there that hopefully maybe we'll even bring up as we get into the show.
Please do.
Yeah, but normally just to to get an idea, like I ask all our guests that come on, when was it that I realized you were into the occult, or this is something you're going to get into, magic, witchcraft, whatever you call it?
This is a very good question because it's actually the question I always ask anyone who wants to be initiated. I ask them, why do you want to be? It's just sort of more just a why. Like, why do you want to be invested in the occult? Why do you want to do it? And I actually, as I've said, I really only have one answer that everyone, it can be answered in a bunch of different ways. But for me, I feel like there's only one true answer. And that answer is, I couldn't not do it. I have to do it.
Wow.
It's like it's an intrinsic part of me. If you locked me in a solitary confinement cell, I would still scribble on the walls. I would still try to meditate and get beyond it. It's calling. It's something that is, I think, for a lot of people, it's part of our intrinsic part of our soul. And for me, that was always the case. I mean, the story that I tell, true story, from my perspective, is I made contact with my HGA, my holy guardian angel, when I was about 3 years old, in a moment of terror. And I remember it very clearly. I mean, we don't usually have great memories of being about 3, but I remember very clearly lying in an extraordinarily hot Australian summer bed, trying to sleep in the excessive heat, and being particularly, an infant of sorts, a little toddler. I could hear a thumping noise and like giant crashing noises. And I thought it was, in my mind, I thought it was a giant coming to eat me, of course. And the steps got louder and louder and louder and louder until my little peak of thinking, it's on me. It kind of broke, and I heard a voice inside my own mind saying, it's your ear. It's your heartbeat, you fool. Get off your ear. It's just your own heartbeat. And then I was like, oh, I realized I could fold my ear over and I could summon the giant, or I could banish the giant by just folding my ear over. And I was playing with this for about 30 seconds to a minute, and the voice came back and it said, you are going to die though, but don't worry, I'm here to talk you through it. And ever since then, whenever I need counsel throughout my entire life, all I've really had to do is look at my own face in the mirror. And I was more looking at that other, my holy guardian angel, and I could always discuss. And in the right state, it could tell me things that I didn't know. Things that wisdom well beyond whatever I intellectually had. And for me, that's in many reasons why I resonated so much with Poke's magic, his mirror magic, because to me, I've done that throughout my whole life. That's what I've always done. It took me a while to figure out that the dark mirror scrying in that fashion was basically exactly the same thing as what I had been doing throughout my entire life. And so I think there's every person who gets into this needs to remember that your journey is going to be different from everyone else's journey. And if someone tells you various it tries to give you a specific roadmap that's unique to them, you're going to be looking at the wrong signs. About 80% of things that work for other people will only work for you about 20% of the time. And about 20% of the things that work for other people will work for you about 80% of the time. It's called the Pareto principle, and it's just a strange law of reality. And so for me, I have always been invested in mysticism, magic, and the other world. To me, it is the air I breathe, basically. Since before I could really form memories, one of my first memories is basically making contact with my holy guardian angel, which I now know to be the case because I've done our holy guardian angel retreat. Now, third degree inside the OTA is the Holy Guardian Angel Retreat, where we have a kind of a intensified but truncated version of the Holy Guardian Angel ritual. I'd say it's like the Abramelin rite, but that's specific. That's a specific Holy Guardian Angel tradition, like the Liber Semer with Crowley's work, which is itself, I think, a truncated version. And there's a lot of different, but this is probably one of the best things the OTA has. Everyone that's gone through the 3rd degree, which is like an intense weekend of constant solitary magical work, sleepless, just ritual after ritual after ritual after ritual after ritual after ritual, who comes out of that says their life is completely changed. It's just everything has gotten better. It's incredible. So
That's a wild story, man.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot there. I feel
I'm like,
yeah, I feel like there's a lot there from like this idea of being able to tap into your holy guardian angel, and and then to the magic. Okay, I'm gonna one thing at a time here. To like this mirror magic, right? So I have my own understanding and thoughts about what that means and what the magical mirror. So there's a difference, right? Mirror magic and the magical mirror in magic and the occultism and esotericism. But then going back to the idea of like talk to me about what that is like, or how that relates to, tapping into it at a young age, your holy guardian angel, into now one of the first things you talked about with Pokrani and his work is mirror magic. I want to know what you think about those two together.
Well, there are many different ways to, you can say, interact with the other world, so to speak. Mirror magic, I find, is, especially we use it quite heavily, obviously. And I find it to be, it's direct. It's you're not going to say easy, but I would say it is a straightforward interface with your own subconscious in a way that, say, twisting incense smoke is not. I remember, I think I was reading something by another magician. I can't remember exactly who it was, probably for the best, who was saying something like that they would conjure, like when they did Goetia, they would conjure spirits into the space, and they would continue to conjure them into the space around them, into the temple space. And eventually you'll get poltergeist activity, but that's part of the, you could say a common issue.
I feel like I actually saw that in a reel the other day by somebody. Anyway, yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
And we have never had that problem. We don't summon spirits into the 3-dimensional space. We don't trap them in an area they dislike. We talk to them through what is essentially a communication medium. It's the mirror allows us to have that state of mind to communicate and see phenomena without having them be forced into a physical space and to show sign, blow out a candle, prove that you're here, make the lights flicker or something. It's like, well, the image is changing on the mirror. I can see it right now. I can feel them, the pressure change. I can feel this. I can see what's going on. And we did a Goetia operation the other night with a whole bunch of different people. It was really cool. Just having people one at a time sitting in front of the mirror, reinvesting themselves and gaining that wonderful. And it's strange how universal despite the differences in specifics, the universalness of the feeling, the energy of what's coming through. It's very profound. Obviously, there are magic mirrors have been used for a considerable period of time. Dr. John Dee has one, I think, in I can't remember, Bodleian Library, something like that. We have a picture of it actually in the new Book of Solomon's Magic. And whether he ever used it or not, we can't tell. But
supposedly that is actually a myth, and it comes out that it is only his shoe stone. So my girlfriend and I did a 3-part series, and then the last one we did it with Nick. About magic mirrors, interesting enough, because it's just fascinating that you bring that one up right away, because it fascinates me that our phones are like magic mirrors. You know what I mean? It's that black scrying. They
can be used thusly. One of the things that really pushed me is certain breathing methods are particularly powerful. I mean, my favorite. It's not part of our program, but my personal favorite is the Wim Hof breathing method.
Oh yeah, it definitely works.
I like to. when your oxygen level dips to a certain point, your brain actually produces DMT. It has to dip down to about 60%. And if you're doing a lot of that breathing method, it gets down there. And I found that you can, when you do like dark mirror scrying in combination with some of these breathing methods, I found that was, for me, it was an incredible thing. I noticed it by accident because I was doing the breathing method in front of my computer screen, and it turned itself off. Obviously, I'd been doing the breathing for some time, and the lights were somewhat dim. And again, the same phenomena. I look at and I could see my face changing as I was looking, and the breathing, the oxygen was changing, and I was like, whoa, that's, because I was like, wow, that is not my face. That's a far more handsome face. Evidently one of my ancestors, or something like that. And it was wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And we do have breathing methods in our work. And like, it's a fire breath. It's like the circular box breathing. A lot of people who've never actually encountered breathing methods, I've done classes on breathing methods like this, and I've had people come to me afterwards and say, oh man, that box breathing, like breathe in for 6, hold for 6, out for 6, hold for 6. They say that changed everything. My stress levels have gone down. I sleep much better.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of like level 1 breathing technique. But
yeah,
if it helps you, there is, you could write an entire, I've sometimes thought about it, but best left for someone better than me. You could write an entire grimoire that is all about how breath work can change your mind, your perceptions, and your body.
Yeah, it's already there. It's called Raja Yoga. It's pranayama breathing. And so even in Crowley's 8 Limbs of Yoga, Yoga for Yahooligans, right? That essay that Crowley wrote, he talks about how pranayama is your, what is it? You have, your niyama, your yama, your asana, and then breath work. Pranayama is what helps you get into your dhyanas, your dhyanas, and then to the samadhi state. And so you're hitting it right on the knob there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, there are only the relationship between the body, or you could say the inner child, or the basic self, or whatever language you want to clothe it in, and the mind has been described as, I think it was like Sam Harris or someone described it as an elephant and its rider. I like a more cosmic image. It's like the dark, deep ocean, and just someone floating on the surface of it. But I think the elephant analogy is probably more approachable, in that when you're having a good day, you can guide the elephant where you want it to go. But when you're having a bad day, the elephant takes you for a ride. It's the nature of addiction and things like that. As in, if the elephant is addicted to something, there's nothing the rider can do about it. I mean, it takes a lot. But there's a few languages, just thinking and intentions don't really communicate things terribly well to the deeper self. There are, however, a couple of languages that do. There are 3 languages that allow you to communicate. One of them is breath. Breath is a direct language between your conscious mind and your body. The second one is visualization, actual mental, internal visualization. I mean, you've heard stories of people who, like, apocryphal or not, will be like in POW camps in Vietnam, never played a game of golf in their life. They imagine playing golf for just to, try to get through the experience. And when they come back home, they got an A game. It's like, what? It's like the mind is capable of communicating with the body in ways through imagination. It's these visualization techniques are often used as like to guide energy or whatever. But it's like whatever it is that they're guiding, they are guiding the body very well. And the third method is ritual. And that doesn't necessarily mean magical ritual. That means ritual. That means setting up a series of spaces that you have to go through. When you go through that space, you're different at the end. I usually use gym, working out. I mean, you set a series of tasks for yourself. I mean, a gym it has its own sights, its own smells. I hesitate to use the word a fragrance, but a gym has its own scent.
What do you you even said before, not to interrupt, but even designing your workout. I mean, how different is that as coming up with a sigil or a talisman?
Well, I heard once someone who I wish I could remember their name suggested that in order to change your life, if you have a difficulty doing so, one of the best things to do is to make small structural changes that it doesn't rely on your whimsy or your will at that stage. It's like if you keep forgetting your keys, putting them somewhere where you will see them right before you leave or something like that. It's little structural things that you do throughout your day to ritually guide yourself, and you feel more competent all of a sudden, but you've mentally placed a series of hurdles that your body will go through. You've planned in advance, and by doing so, the body will jump over those hurdles and be forced to change. And those are the three languages that you can communicate with your body, so to speak, at least to my reckoning.
I thought that was great. All that stuff you just said right there, I think very interesting stuff. A lot of it, I think, all goes back to a lot of things that me and even Magus have been kind of talking about lately, especially with your nervous system and all that. Even the breathing. Not to a selfish plug for myself, but I did put out a show, on breathing, the mechanics of magic, breathing as a threshold. And I covered some interesting stuff that has even had like scientific experiments done on, where it's like, you can change your body temperature. You do all sorts of stuff with breathing.
Oh, yes. Tumo breathing is very much like that.
Yeah, G2O.
Don't do that when you're driving a car. I made that mistake.
Or
God,
do.
I'm glad I was on a back street.
Or do.
Oh, no. I'm just glad I came to and pressed the stop.
Well, that's one of the first. One of the first things I teach my students in like Tai Chi and Qigong, breath is integrated into all of those things. You actually, unless you learn how to control your breathing, everything else actually almost doesn't matter. And that's an extreme. I'm kind of an extreme guy, so that's an extreme thing to say, but it's so true. Every teacher I've had that has tried to, it's almost a given in Chinese martial arts and Chinese breathwork, Buddhism, and all these different things, Taoism. The breath is integrated into all of it because it controls the production of qi, jing into shen to grow spirit. And so it's such an interesting thing that then it's one of the main bases for the AA, Crowley's work, and then, integrating the Eastern mysticism with the Western magic.
Well, a lot of that Eastern mysticism, and initially when you start getting into researching like the history of the Western tradition, you think that maybe the Eastern material is included, as has been shoehorned in. But it's not entirely true. It's actually, I think, far more true to say that the Western tradition, going back to a very long way, had all of that stuff. It did have all of that stuff. And it was, in a sense, lost over a long period of time.
For sure.
For instance, one of the things although in the OTA we are very heavily, we are Canaanite based in our mythos, and for good reason.
What does that mean? Just so people know, because I have an idea, but let people know what like being Canaanite means in this.
Well, the Canaanite mythos, specifically like the mid to late Bronze Age Canaanite mythos, is, I find, one of the most advantageous egregores for a magician. And I specifically say that because in the Western tradition, it's kind of at the heart of the entire Western tradition. So what we're talking about at the end of the Bronze Age is the Phoenician Canaanite tradition merged very heavily with the Egyptian tradition because they were frenemies for a very long period of time. They invaded each other over and over again, and the people regularly adopted each other's cultures and then purified and then adopted and then purified. And then, and they are also mixed heavily with the Mesopotamian legends. So some of the most ancient traditions overall get filtered through the Phoenician and Canaanite tradition. And because they were such effete sailors and tradesmen, all throughout the Aegean down to the west coast of Africa and all the way up to England, and then going forward through the biblical traditions as well, we find that it's essentially the beating heart of Western mystery magical traditions overall. A lot of people would like to say that the Egyptian tradition is that way, but actually the Egyptian tradition, which is very, very near and dear to me, I heavily research into ancient Egypt. I adore it greatly. A lot of my research has delved into that, but the Egyptian tradition is a bit of a cul-de-sac. Why? Because every ancient tradition, every god derives from the peoples of that region's relationship with the local environment. And for Egypt, that's the Nile. That's where life, food, generation comes from. But for the most of the rest of the world, that's rain, which is why the chief gods are thunder gods, lightning gods, rain gods. They bring the rain. And Baal Adad, or the various other Baals, there are actually a lot of Baals. Every city had its own Baal, and some of them are very different. Eshmun is an odd Baal that a lot of people like to overlook. He's actually a god of healing. But we have Baal Adad is the classic enemy of Yahweh, whatever you believe of all of that. But it's also, they're basically almost the same god. They competed in a sense to be like, no, actually, we're not the same god, but they're both storm, thunder gods about rain, generation, lightning, strength, life. And the Canaanite tradition is at the beating heart of all Western tradition for that reason. And it is inclusive through its trade routes with and its mythology with basically everywhere else, especially after we're getting into the way it syncretizes with the Greek and the Roman traditions. Again, if you try to syncretize things with the Egyptian tradition, it gets kind of, kinda, sorta, I guess. But when it comes to the classic archetypes of the supreme father god, the supreme mother goddess, the god hero of lightning and rain, and then the goddess of generation and life and growth and nurturing, and the god of smithing, the god of craft, and these are like major archetypes. Almost, these are Western human archetypes. I would hesitate to say that they are universally human, because I don't know whether I can make that kind of judgment. But from a Western tradition, these are very much the roots of a lot of our religious archetypal thought. And so it allows us to essentially adopt almost any school of Western magic and fold it into our tradition if we wish to, because we are at the heart of it. And so nothing is really excluded in the Western tradition. And so it's important to have that as the core of what we're doing. If that makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah. So what were we going on? What were we actually talking about before we had to explain?
Before I rambled on?
Well, he was talking about the 3 different breakdowns and breath being one of those things. Right?
Oh, yes.
And then that leading into the idea of the Canaanite tradition being the heart of your tradition, and this break of the breath from, and why it went away, and how it leads into what Pokeroni and what the OTA is doing.
Well, as I say, breath work, especially the fire breath, is one that we use before ritual quite regularly. And it's like a way of raising that internal energy and that internal temperature. So that is absolutely one of the methods that we use. I've experimented a great deal with and we all have other breathing methods and things like that. It's incredible feeling how they actually alter the mind and alter the body as you go through. And as I say, there's a breathing method for just about anything. Science itself is sort of catching up with that right now, with things like, if you modulate your heart rate, for instance, if you can modulate your heart rate just a little bit, your willpower improves. It was a strange kind of study, but if you stop yourself and breathe in for 10 and out for 10 and do that a couple of times, you'll suddenly find a boost to your own willpower. It's like the brain has a slight reset. Cravings start to vanish away. Just little tiny breathing cantrips so to speak, like that, can just alter the way you navigate through life. And science itself is proving a whole bunch of other fascinating things about ritual practice. I know that here in LA, there was a study with magnetoception, humans' ability to feel the like electromagnetic sphere of the Earth, like the field of the Earth, and what that does to us. I think they were initially studying cows and this idea that they always face north-south when they sleep. And certainly birds are able to navigate themselves flying around, flying north or south for the winter, except, so to speak. But in LA, this research was they were seeing what, if any, effect the Earth's electromagnetic field would have. And they discovered, I need to be proof checked on this guy, but they would first isolate the person in like a giant Faraday cage, and then they would subject them to a equivalent Earth's electromagnetic field. And as they sat there and turned it, they discovered that if they turned it in one direction, and I believe that was clockwise. No, I believe that was anti-clockwise. I think when they turned the electromagnetic field anti-clockwise, they did nothing. But when they turned it in the other direction, it induced an alpha state. And what's fascinating about that is, well, we do circumambulations, don't we? When you circumambulate around a circle, you are doing exactly the same thing with Earth's electromagnetic field. You are inducing an alpha state through this mechanism that the ancients obviously experimentally knew about, but science is catching up to what it exactly does and how it does it. The effect is magic.
This is really interesting. You're saying this stuff. Do you think a lot of the stuff that is used in rituals is actually, because you mentioned the mirror, you mentioned breathing. I've even covered the mirror about pareidolia and all that stuff of how it starts affecting your brain and this and that. Even how and even stuff with your eyes. Your whole nervous system. There's a lot of things that you're mentioning that all seem to kind of affect your nervous system. Is that something you think is actually being done? I mean, because you're talking about science now too. I notice you're getting into science and looking into studies. Do you think a lot of stuff is actually attacking the practitioner's nervous system in a sense, or affecting it more than people probably realize when they're doing these practices?
Well, I think that every time I think about this sort of subject, I'm reminded of a quote by Paracelsus, and that was, "Physical cures for physical ailments, magical cures for magical ailments." That sounds like a quip, like dismissal. But I think that the physical body, if you look for a physical reason for something to occur, you will find it eventually. But that doesn't mean there's not more going on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, reality itself, the physical world that we experience right now, isn't reality. That was another study that happened here in the greater Los Angeles region. And that was, he went on Joe Rogan, and I wish I could remember his name, but the scientist in question was running an experiment in like evolutionary perception. Like he was trying to figure out just how much of reality do organisms see on a day-to-day basis? Because obviously if you can see things the way they are, surely that's advantageous to survival. You'd think that it's advantageous to survival to see what's going on, to perceive reality in some fashion. And he wanted to see exactly how much of reality organisms saw. At the end of his study, which I suggest you go and find rather than just take my word for it, he discovered that nothing. An animal that perceives reality as it is always loses the game of survival against animals that perceive only an interface that permits them the quickest and easiest way to procreate. In other words, we don't see any reality. We just see an illusion, a projection, an interface that allows us to, it's basically, he thinks of it as like the icons on a desktop. The icons on the desktop could be a reality, But there's more behind that. It's much deeper. And the workings of that is inconceivable to the icons themselves. That, to me, is when we're looking at the mix of science and magic. And magic is what we as limited organisms might call the greater reality of things. Whereas what we experience of it as icons on the desktop of the cosmos is passing, strange, and explainable. Like many talismans, we've all made talismans and we've seen their positive effects. Almost always those positive effects happen in a way that you could think, oh, well, that kind of the circumstances lined up in a way that it's kind of explainable anyway. And it's like, yeah, sure. But it still happened, didn't it? It still worked.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like the classic story. I do remember, I think it was a magician, Rufus Opus, who said he did I think a few people have stories like this, who said that he did a money magic spell for a specific amount of money, and shortly afterwards his home burned down and he got the insurance payment, which was exactly the amount of money he asked for. It's a careful what you wish for kind of thing. But that's like the quickest and easiest way for reality to actually give him exactly what he wasn't to have some airborne drug dealer throw some cash out of the window in fleeing from the police, and he just happened to find a bag of cash. The easiest way was his house burned down and he got the insurance payment. That's the quickest and easiest way, and reality almost always takes the swiftest and easiest route from point A to point B. So that's why you have to be careful what you wish for.
That's the old Aladdin's cave. Rubbing Genie's lamp, huh?
Hey, the genie's just doing what you asked it to do, man.
Yep,
like,
right.
So you can't complain. So, yeah. But when it comes to perception, because I know you brought up again the Black Mirror and the science behind specifically what that is. So, like, for instance, in our American Magic, the documentary that we, the docu-series, 4-part docu-series that we produced, the final episode goes over and explains a little bit more the idea of the mirror magic method. It uses something very specific called the Troxler effect. And the Troxler effect is basically if you look at anything, especially in a low light setting, it mostly happens there. Now, we've all experimented this probably as kids, looking up at the ceiling, and you look long enough at a detail in the ceiling and it disappears. It starts to fade out. It's because the rods and cones in the eyes get tired. They lose their little ATP, their little energy. They fade out. They stop functioning, and the brain fills in the gaps. We actually have a blind spot in our eyes that you're probably all aware of. That is where the optic nerve folds back over and goes to the brain. And because it does, we have blind spots permanently in our eyes that the brain fills in the details. It basically, AI generates a bunch of noise that you could believe is real. And so when you do the Troxler effect, and it has been studied again scientifically a lot, usually with poor college students sitting opposite each other. So this can just be done looking at another person's face. So with this specific effect, you sit in low light conditions and you stare at your own face in a black mirror, or you stare at someone else's face. After a while, the rods and cones start to have a difficult time. They get tired. And after a while, the face you'll see blurs to like a blank, nothing. If you blink really hard and you shake your eyes, it'll go away. But if you stay in that samadhi state, if you stay looking at it for a while, the rods and cones will start to become exhausted and the face will fade away. And then another face will start to reappear. And this is a wonderful scrying divinatory method to conjure up spirits to visible appearance in the dark mirror. And it terrified a lot of these college students who were looking at their colleagues' faces from a few feet away, and all of a sudden, like, it's a monster. And some of them would really get freaked out and not want to do it. But what's really fascinating is in a lot of the research that I've been doing into sort of Egyptology, ancient stuff. What's fascinating is that, again, we go into this in American Magick, that the ancient Egyptian astrologers, or astronomers, they weren't really different back then. They were called horoscopoi by the Greek. The way they would view the stars, and we know this from papyri that they had, is they would go up to the rooftop of usually those pylons or other towers that they have. They'd sit on the rooftop and sit north-south, and there'd be two of them at least. One of them would sit in a specific position, and the other one would sit facing them and looking at them. And we know from the papyrus records that they were judging the hours of the night, ora scopi, those who view the hours of the night sky. They would view them by where the stars were positioned in relation to the other person's face. They could have used anything, but they used the other person's face. And we know what happens when you are in a low light condition, staring at another person's face for a long period of time, tired, exhausted, late at night, early in the morning.
Add a flickering candle. That's even crazier.
Flickering candlelight, incense rising as the stars wheel ahead in the sky at their appointed hours. All of a sudden, their face will change. And the deckhand, the spirit of that deckhand, channels through the person sitting opposite. I mean, we have to assume that they used a person's face for a reason. And believe me, if the Egyptians could turn something into a magical or like divinatory system, they did. I mean, these things have magical, mystical effects. And it's to think they didn't see this effect. This is, I think we have to conclude that this is like the origin of celestial necromancy, is this effect and what it has on the mind.
It's when you brought up the whole staring back at each other, when you were going on before about something, I forgot what it was. It made me think about it, and not again, not to plug it, selfish plugs here, but just for even new people that might be listening that haven't listened to it, because it's kind of old now. I did do like I covered the Troxler effect on the show, or I think I just fucked up the name or whatever, if that's how you say it. I did cover that, and during that show when I recorded it, I wanted to add, but I kind of didn't, because sometimes her name can get conspiratorial. But when you brought it up again, it made me remember about Marina Abramovich.
Oh, yes.
A long
Spirit
time.
cooking.
Yeah. Probably, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 years ago, she did some sort of, like, I don't know if it was considered like some artistic thing, but like she went somewhere and she sat down. I don't know if she sat down on just a chair and a table, or if it was just two chairs, but she would sit there, and then people had the chance to come around and sit there, and you could just stare in each other's faces. And people thought it was like the weirdest shit. And after I was like doing this show, as I was recording that series by myself, I was like, yo, this reminds me of what she was doing then. The same fucking thing. You have like most of those people are probably unwilling participants, actually. Don't even realize what they're doing. They just think it's cool to stare at the lady. Maybe, I don't know.
That works. That actually
was probably in the state.
So. Well, that works in many ways. I mean, she's a dark archon who needs to be defeated to move up to the next boss, which is Lady Gaga and Jay-Z. So we got to realize all in the right place. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, there's still low-level bosses to get, as we go through the level.
But if she trained Gaga, shouldn't she still be above her?
Well, she is, but it's like the Sith, law of two. They got to take down, their master. Yeah, but you have a good point, and so you caught me on that one. But yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was really interesting. It just reminded me of that, because I always thought that was kind of weird that people. I think Jay-Z even showed up to stare at her.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's because that is her students. Yeah, Jay-Z and Lady Gaga are her students of that stuff that they're doing. Yeah.
Really interesting. And
you can take that into the other way, and and I laugh at it, but it works. Is to get into a state of intimacy. You can also do that with, like just somebody you love or are courting, and have a unveiling, vulnerable moment, which then, since we have mirror neurons, if you keep that in a state of lightness and love and these things, you both can start to, so it's an perception is weird, and our nervous systems are even weirder. So there's something to be said about human vulnerable states and what we can witness as we go through them.
Well, that specific, I know, is when you stare into each other's eyes, it releases oxytocin after a period of time. You do develop that bond with the other person, staring deep into their eyes. I know there's performing arts techniques where you're supposed to shoot rays out of your eyes. This old Stanislavski type performing arts techniques. I did a lot of performing arts.
Nice.
Yeah. So absolutely, it's
That's interesting. And even choreographed stuff, I think, can start, or maybe that's dopamine gets released into your system. So I could see how maybe like dancing with somebody and looking into their eyes, you could really start popping shit off in your head and not even realize it.
Oh, popping shit off other places too with that.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just because of the synchronized movement, which is going to start. Of course.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
actually, I can say, just knowing the steps, actually, you'd think that knowing a dance and its steps is like limiting, but honestly, it's very relaxing to be able to dance with someone and know the steps already. It's good.
Yeah. Eric or Judith or
yeah, I got something. So before we started the stream, we were talking about that like documentary movie that Poke put out, The Magick of Solomon. I've probably watched that like 10 times. And within that movie, there's a part where it actually shows the ritual, and there's some mirror scrying in the ritual. Now, a lot of people, I think when they talk about mirror work, it's a very solitary and individual practice. But what is depicted in the documentary is a group ritual where one person is staring into the mirror. There's another person across the ritual space with like the symbols of whatever spirit is being conjured, and they're working together. And then there is the rest of the group that is like circumambulating and stuff like that. So first of all, because again, that is a movie. So first of all, how much within the temple is actually done as group work like that involving a mirror? And then when group work is done, how much do you think is the responsibility of the scryer, and how much is the responsibility of the group?
These are very good questions. Actually, in that original documentary, what you were looking at was as damn near what we actually do as you possibly can for a camera being in the space.
I was hoping you'd say that.
When it comes to why, I mean, I think he explains this in that little in the documentary, the classic, is that when you have someone just dedicated scrying, then they don't have to worry about uttering lengthy incantations or the like. It tends to be much more effective for them to get into that state and to be able to make that connection. And so it just functions much better for people, especially if they're, you can say, less, they haven't done as much of it as, say, like a really veteran magician may have. Sorry, did we just lose Cardinal Electric, or is he? I think
He'll be right back.
He'll be right back. Okay. So that's pretty much exactly what we do. When we have a group of people, the energy of that group of people contributes to the operation. And one of the fascinating things about having a group of people afterwards, when you start to discuss what went down, even when people don't necessarily voice what's going on, the uniformity of the experience is a kind of evidence and proof in and of itself of the efficacy of what we're doing. It's especially we do Almadel angelic scrying work, and that's quite fascinating to all sit around and all be scrying on the crystal ball and all receive basically exactly the same message in one form or another, in your own words. You get this overwhelming presence of like a download of the message that comes through. And in some cases it comes through you, in other cases you get like a whole download and you just kind of orate what you've received. And then afterwards, when we all write it in the logbook, the similarities, especially when people can draw and they sketch out what they saw, like the similarities, you hand the book to the other person after sketching and they're like, that is exactly what I saw. You know, it's the uniformity is incredible, and group work is something that is I think it's more powerful in a sense of connecting, to kind of know that what you've been through has that potency, that power, that reality to it, that you otherwise would be full of individual doubts on your own, depending on who you are. And I personally believe like the energy of the group contributes to the efficacy of the ritual itself. I mean, I actually find that in a bunch of other settings as well too. Like when you're like training with someone else, physically training with them, I find for some reason, like I myself can push myself harder and further when I'm with that person than by myself. It's like I don't know. It's like you become a larger organism with a single united will behind you, and it becomes more powerful. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I like your mention of the fact that when you're working with another person, you know, the sum becomes greater than just the two.
Definitely.
Does anybody have any questions before I ask them?
Please, anything.
What was it that got you interested in the OTA? Or like, what was other things you thought were lacking that place had?
What got me interested in the OTA was the same thing that got a lot of people interested in the OTA, and that's the original documentary, the Magick of Solomon video. We all stumble upon that at 3 a.m, searching for random videos on YouTube, come across it and have a wonderful time listening to Poke give his grand lecture on the subject. I found that back in like it was like I had a dreadful year of sort of unknown insomnia. Like there was no reason for it. It came horribly and went away just as mysteriously. But during that year was a great deal of soul searching, because you got nothing else to do at about 5 a.m. And I was just sort of led to really resonate with Poke's work and the way he and the OTA overall. I said, these people, like, this is great. I love this. This is exactly kind of what I've been looking for. And so because I was born in California, but I was raised in Australia, obviously, hence the annoying accent. And I moved back to get to know my father's side of the family, because, you know, and while I was here, I was like, isn't this where the OTA is? I should reach out and see if I can join them. And just so it happens, yes, I did. And then I attended one of the seasonal ceremonies. We do about 5 of them a year, Halloween included. You got the solstice equinoxes and Halloween. And recently added another one, which is we have a big feast. It's like a table lodge. It's really cool. It's good fun. And I attended this seasonal, and for me, when I arrived and I was hanging out with, it was a big one. I think there was like 30 or 40 odd people there, which is pretty big actually for our seasonal ceremonies. And I remember just listening to the conversations that were taking place as we were all eating afterwards and fraternizing and stuff. We were chatting, and I could hear all of these conversations. And for the first time in my whole life, I found myself wanting to be a part of every single one of the conversations simultaneously. I'm like, all of these are great. I don't know which one to choose to be a part of, to talk about. Like, as you go to most parties, etc., especially if you have our kind of mindset, the cult mindset, very rarely do we find someone we will want to lock in and have a conversation with, because you discuss these things and you want to talk about these things all the time, because we are obsessed, for better or worse, about these topics. But it was the very first time I had been to a party where I felt at home. I felt I had found my tribe, is what my mother would say, that I had really found the people who I love and resonate with. And I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. This group of people are just, and it's really kind of only gotten better and better, especially in the past few years. We've really attracted some incredible people. I think you've spoken to Lucy Vaughn. She's a member of ours. She's marvelous. She really is wonderful. We have so many wonderful people, and like I could sing all of their praises endlessly. And it's just like, I don't know. There are many things. I think old occult societies, I've said this for a while, like mystical societies, and in the oldie days, community was a kind of a given. You existed inside of a community, and if you wanted hidden knowledge, then you had to sort of petition and get in secret. It's reversed nowadays. Knowledge is, or at least information, flows like wine, and we get drunk on it a little too much, I think. But community is much harder to find. And I think that being able to have a group of people, whether you're casual, dedicated, or in between, having like a society of people, because I mean, our group is what someone would, I suppose you could say, colloquially or popularly call a cult, because we do all the dressing up in costumes and muttering enchantments and all of that stuff. But it couldn't be further from the truth. We are a club, an eccentric book club with costumes and events. I think that characterizes us far more accurately. If you want to come or go, you can come and go. Yeah, but there are some, it's once you're an important member of the group, you're cherished forever, because it's like a special family that you can always talk to about your craziest and wildest ideas. Nothing too crazy, nothing is too unhinged. You don't need to preface everything you say with saying this might seem crazy, but it's like everything we say is crazy. See if you can out crazy the next person. That's the real challenge. But it is very much a balm for the soul to be able to resonate with other individuals in a networking capacity, and whatever society or whatever group that is, whatever you want to call it, or whoever that group is. I feel it is very important today for mystics, magicians, practitioners to find that tribe that they can be themselves in, finally. I think that's perhaps the strongest message of a magical society today is what it brings to you in the sense of meaning, personally. Yeah, to have that connection.
Oh, it's good. I like that. Actually, sounds inviting. Thank you. Oh, it just sounds better than other places when they advertise themselves.
Well, I mean, what can any magical society say? We have secrets that the other societies don't. I mean, who believes that? It's like, really? You do? Okay. I mean, every society, like a mystical society, has secrets. It's similar to Freemasonry. Freemasonry has a bunch of secrets, but if you found out what they were, you would say, why are they keeping this secret? This is weird. It's about integrity. It's not about the secrets themselves. It's about being able to trust your brothers and sisters to know that they're going to keep these odd things secret, because when push comes to shove, they'll keep what you need secret in the sense of being able to confide in each other. We're not talking about crimes. We're talking about being able to resonate and confide in each other. Oh, we got a comment. What is the OTA? That's the Ordo Templi Astartes, a magical Canaanite society that was founded by Carol Polk Runyon back in 1969, 1970, and has been in continuous operation ever since. So it's over 50 years old now, and he is still kicking, 91 young.
Oh.
He's doing pretty good.
That's something. Good for him. Did you guys have any questions?
Was he a part of the OTO and then broke off and did his own OTA, or am I? Because I don't know. Fill me in.
Yes, actually, he was, like everyone back in the 70s and 60s, the OTO, and he actually received his own charter. I can't remember exactly. He actually received I don't know enough about that specific period of time to get into the details of it. I wish I did. But yeah, he received a charter to open his own lodge, but he wanted to. He never fully resonated, I think, with the Crowley egregore in a way, and he wanted a medium through which to communicate a lot of the work that he did, and he was doing with the magical mirror and the Goetia and things like that. As well as the Almadel and things like that. And he wanted it. Actually, the initiatory society element of the OTA evolved over time. Originally, there was just an initiation, which was, and this is actually pertinent to the research I've been doing. So I won't go into the weeds too much because it will take a very long time. But the first initiation, the only initiation he had back in the day, was based on an awesome kind of an initiation experience that was written up by Paul Christian in here I am having a brain fart on Sunday afternoon. It's the History and Practice of Magic, I think is what it was. The History and Practice of Magic by Paul Christian. And in it, he talks about this like descending into the pyramids. It's called the initiation into the pyramids, where this person goes in through the pores of the Sphinx and they go down into the depths, and there's various traps and initiations through fire, air, and water and mechanisms. And then in the grand hall, they're given cups and poisons to avoid. It's all very marvelous and fantastical. And that thing was actually based on earlier, because that was like penned in like 1860, and then and he used that as his initiation to begin with because it's awesome. And then he realized that was based on earlier works, specifically on the 1731 Life of Sethos, which basically gave it the entire first half of that. And then the 1770 Crata Report, which has been the actual main focus of my work, which is a kind of a paramasonic system in the time where it was like the Wild West of Freemasonry, when everyone and their grandma had to have their own Masonic Freemasonic rite. And these guys made actually very popular for a period of time, right? 7-degree system. And then Polk adopted that 7-degree system going forward for the OTA. And so we have the 7 degrees of Crata Repoa that we utilize for the OTA. And my research has led me to believe that for some reason, the guys who wrote the Crata Repoa did a way better job than people realize. I hesitate to say that it's legit, because I mean it's a 1700s attempt to recreate the Egyptian mysteries, and there's no reason they should have been able to do that. But they did their homework in ways that beg a belief when you really scrutinize it. So, and that's actually something I've been working on right now. I'm going to be giving a lecture on that soon with a Sacramento lodge via Zoom, which is going to be fascinating preparing that thing. I did actually a 3-hour lecture on that a while ago, and I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to make it 3 hours. Poor people. Their asses must have been wood by the end of that. But Yeah, it is an incredible subject. Most people have dismissed the Crater Rapport as being like Enlightenment bullshit, but it's not. It's really good. It's really well done, and it deserves to be recognized as perhaps one of the greatest reconstructions of the Egyptian mysteries that has ever been attempted. It's just that it looks like it was attempted by someone who was a little over the limit at the time. So it kind of passes by because it has a bunch of insertions in it that look very like, oh, that's Enlightenment masonry. But, actually underneath it is a skeleton that is legit. So very cool.
That's interesting. I didn't know, or maybe I forgot that he was in the. So he was in the OTO for a bit himself.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, again, they all were. He's got a huge collection of Crowley books. He's quite the aficionado, and he's very facile with the history of Crowley and Regardie, and the Golden Dawn, going all the way back to the early 20th century. So it's yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Has he said himself? I found it very interesting how you said this, because like for myself, I could see that kind of being one of the reasons why I left the OTO was the Crowley egregore. Because I feel like the idea behind Crowley, in my experience in the OTO, I don't know how to explain it. I think the public, first off, has already constructed an idea about the man that probably isn't even correct. So you have that, and then I think you have the idea from the members of what they have heard from the public. And sometimes maybe if you want to kind of be like an edgelord, you might want to go there to maybe for the negative aspects of his personality, if they're even true. Or you could be going because you actually think the guy had something magically to talk about. But I do think, like, what you're like, for me, I feel like the whole idea of him and just that whole thing doesn't even match what I think he was even trying to do anymore. Like, I think it's become like kind of a false egregore in itself. So I don't know if like that looked at it, but the way you said that, I was just like, wow, that's really interesting, because I just felt like there was just something like it doesn't represent what it was intended to, I think, anymore. And I think that has become like a relationship with like the public and the students, and propaganda and ignorance, mixed in.
Yeah. Well, I find that certain chapters of the OTO could very easily, seemingly, for someone who's never been an OTO member, and I know some wonderful OTO people, believe me.
Oh, no, so do I.
I just find it can easily collapse into a daddy issues club. And which it's like a lot of people who, I don't know, are seeking to use the system to vicariously re-empower themselves from their own mental issues. I don't know. There's a lot of that going on. I find there are a lot of people who kind of wear the magical tradition as some kind of skin suit to get back at their parents. And I wish they wouldn't, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, it was just interesting how you used even that phrasing. I was like, oh, that really nailed it for me. Like, that was, I don't know if you meant it that way, but just for me, that matched. I mean,
the OTO predated Crowley. I mean, he adopted it and he altered it. But then he put such an indelible stamp of himself upon it that the OTO and Crowley are basically synonymous. Their names are basically synonymous. And good for him, I suppose. I'm fascinated by his genius and his seeming sociopathy. I mean, the man is a fascinating individual. I sometimes compare him to Count Cagliostro of the 1700s. I think they're rather similar individuals, although I think Crowley has a added level of genius. I mean, Crowley's work is prolific, and he is unquestionably brilliant. Whether the man's personal foibles notwithstanding, his work stands upon its own merit.
Yeah.
But again, I think Poke regularly says that he couldn't really support the book of the law in a sense, the morality, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's fair enough. If you don't want to be a part of that kind of morality, that sort of, because that's a cornerstone of any specific paradigm. It's kind of, morality is how you interact with other humans, and Poke came from more of a classic Western concept. Do what you want, but don't hurt anybody, kind of thing like that. It's a more like the Wiccan Reed, or I don't know, you could say it's actually predates Wiccanism, obviously, but that kind of golden rule, silver rule kind of concept of just being a good human being to each other. And I think whilst that's not, you have like Lon Milo Duquette and Poke are massive friends, really good friends, and Lon is a wonderful.
I've heard him on shows together, actually. Yeah,
he's wonderful, and like he's de facto kind of, he's not, I don't think he's head of the OTO in his sense, but he's like,
oh, he is. No, Lon Milo is basically the head of the OTO. He's like
right.
Yeah.
Because I think Grady or whoever it was, I can't remember who it was.
Grady McMurtry's dead, but Lon Milo is like, there's like a group of 3, right, or like a few guys that run that stuff. I think I completely agree with you, Nick, when it comes to the Crowley thing. And the problem is the same problem that I think the whole Western esoteric tradition has, is that we forget that we're supposed to become our own prophets. We're supposed to become our own magicians, sovereign magicians. You're not supposed to get on other people's buses. And so once you read through Crowley's work and you're actually doing the practices, as much as his own trickster / had his own inner charlatan, there's something that he was trying to help people. The AA is about creating a prophet. You know what I mean? It's not about following and now being some like lapdog to some rebellious spirit. And that's something that Lon actually talked to me about. I asked him specifically that question because of all the Thelemite / OTO cucks out there that I feel like I can't handle it because everybody is like so politically induced into a world of shadows and narrations that they forget exactly what I wrote in my article that I just put out there is that and you brought it up already, Maximilian, is that we are layered with perceptual data. We never view reality as it is. We only view our perceptions of that reality as our nervous system is interacting with the world. And so Crowley specifically adding in the Eastern mysticism to the Golden Dawn's work, whether you want to say he never made it past Adeptus Minor, went into the inner order, whatever, his own life could have led him into the inner order, because I do believe life initiates us and the initiation never ended, right? It's one of those things that's but what he was doing, and to bring it back to the nervous system and the breath work, is that he integrated the 8 limbs of yoga with Raja Yoga being the king of all yoga, being all get a hold of yourself, the world, and why I don't like the Book of the Law, but I will state that it was more of an overarching understanding of what aeons are doing and how we're moving through the age of Osiris into the age of Horus, and we can see it all around us. It's like the war conquering child is here to bring the sword to all things, and morality is what Crowley's a Nietzschean, and so he's like, God is dead and you killed him, and I don't know if you can create your own moral ethical structures, but God damn it, we're gonna try. Because you got to rework your metaphysical framework from the ground up, and it's tough when it gets into groups, because unless you actually do the work and realize that you're a plebe, all of us are plebes in king's clothing, and until we realize that, because I believe we can become sovereign. And so it's such an interesting thing that's widely forgotten, that you got to kill yourself before you can grow.
Peasant eternal. Eternal.
Right.
I think I don't think I've got a single royal in my bloodline. I checked, and I'm proud to be a peasant.
But you do actually. You have the DNA of gods, as you're trying to awaken it. You know, like if your tradition goes back to the Canaanite tradition, which actually goes back to the Sumerians and Babylonians, predating whatever happened in Younger Dryas period, we all have the bloodline of the Anunnaki or whatever the fuck that means. You know, it's like we all have star magic within us all. You know, and now it's been hijacked through time.
Carl Sagan also said it. We are all of us star stuff. You know,
yeah.
We are the universe. We are the cosmos, to knowing itself. To know itself. We are the way the cosmos knows itself. I think that you bring up an excellent point about self mastery, and it's another reason why you can say it's like the difference between a cult or a club or something like that. Is a cult will try to tell you how you should be, but the thing is, as any kind of a teacher in this regard. It's not for me to tell you precisely how you should approach the material. Ultimately, I should say this is the material that you'll probably be wanting to approach, and here are some ways in which others have done so. But similar to the way I said with like the Pareto principle, about 80% of the techniques will work for you about 20% of the time, and 20% of the techniques will work for you about 80% of the time. You need to figure out which ones those are. I can't tell you the goalposts for you to expect. I mean, I can talk about my own experience, but even that might be perilous because you might be looking for something you'll never see because it's what I saw. But every single person is going to have their own unique experience in how they move forward. And the OTA, ultimately, the dream, Poke's dream was to have the OTA be like a college of magic, believe it or not. And he wanted to be able to present to people these roadmaps so that people can themselves study and work through these things and find their way from where they were to where they wish to be, magically, personally, spiritually, intellectually. This is. Sorry, I think I hurt my child. This is the true thing of a teacher, is not to tell you how to live, but how to listen to and hear. Listen to the true teacher that's within you, to be able to actually hear that higher self, that holy guardian angel, that other wiser aspect of you, to listen to it, to be guided by it, that internal master. Because anyone who says, I am a master or something like that, and properly says, I'm a master, I'm like, really? Of what precisely? Of other people? Like, is like the only master you should ever, I think, kneel to, in a sense, is the one that's inside yourself, inside your own mind and inside your own soul, because that's the only one that's ever going to guide you to where you want to go. Like, no one else is going to be able to take you. You have to get there yourself. This is a solitary path. The path of the magician is a solitary path, even if you're walking beside people, because it is unique to you.
I agree.
My laptop's starting
That's
to
really
run out of
good.
juice.
No, I do think that kind of important too to let people. Just for me, there's even certain. Just keep it real. There's even certain content creators. Sometimes the way they present their stuff, I think would just be better off if it was more of a suggestion than it seems like this is a definite. The way it has
all
to
suggestions. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is it's all just a suggestion. I mean, a lot of people might say this is the way you have to do it. You get into that when you start dealing with things like the Abramelin ritual, where people say you have to do the full 18 months. I'm like, really? You have to do the whole 6 months. And it's like, okay, which one is it? It's like you have to do X, Y, and Z to get from. It's like if you read, for instance, I'm using this as an example rather than is you read the Abramelin ritual, and the first part of the ritual is all just prayer, longing, desire, and you get what you get when you get it. When you go through that thing, the sincere petition to divinity is the magic itself from you. Sincerity, your sincerity, not the ink on the paper, not the writing, not the books or the paraphernalia. You, your sincerity, what you want, what you long for, what you're seeking for. This is the core of it all. The magical tools are an externalization of your own internal will. I mean, you charge something because you give it that frame on, you could say, the astral or in the mental realm. You make a wand by making a stick special to you. And by making it special to you, it does become something beyond the physical that others can feel, quite frankly. Sometimes, I'm sure we've all had instances where we've picked up or been close to a magical implement, and you're like, holy crap, it feels like it's a heater, like it's radiating energy. Yeah, these objects used enough, consecrated by over continuous usage, they have reality to them beyond it's absolutely ineffable, beyond the effable. But ultimately speaking, how you personally approach the material is the true rule of the tradition. I mean, it's at the heart of chaos magic, isn't it? Not that I'm an advocate of chaos magic per se, because the other thing, of course, is that when these traditions have been created over a long period of time, they have their own reality, their own egregore, and you partake in that egregore, and it has its own mechanisms already in place for you to be a part of. But in the end, you are the one that's investing yourself into it as well. You're the one choosing to connect with it and permit it to function, to work for you. So
that was great. Did anybody have anything they wanted to ask? No. I guess you ain't got nothing.
Well, I always have something. Yeah, I was so the next question then would be for yourself is how did why did you practice with anything else before the OTA and poke running stuff? Were you like a dabbling into the Golden Dawn stuff? Were you like you went straight into mirror magic? So there had to have been something maybe before that.
My personal story is one through sort of very general mysticism, things like chi work, energy work, astral projection, kind of stuff like that. One of my favorite mystics before this was actually a fellow Australian, although he was born in England, a guy called Robert Bruce. He's produced an enormous number of really nice manuals on like energy work. It's very similar to oh God, another Sunday brain fart. But Robert Bruce's material is some of the stuff that I really loved getting into, and I still do like a lot of internal. I think it's as otherwise referred to as neigong. It's like qigong, but not with the movements. It's just like internal feeling and visual work.
Well, qigong is neigong.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's Weigong and Weidan and Neigong. Weidan is the externalized movements of hard kung fu,
Right.
and Neigong is the internal aspect. And all Qigong, Tai Chi, Bagua, and Xinyi are Neigong practices.
Understood. Okay,
Nice,
good.
nice.
Good to know. Yes. And I've been doing that a lot. So
Nice.
not so au fait with the terminology, but Robert Bruce's methods are quite good. I highly recommend his material, which is external, obviously, to our OTA stuff, but from a personal note, I say his work is good. It's excellent. So I have always done occulty ritualistic things. Oddly enough, when I first learned the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which we probably all know by heart, is that I used to do that as a kid. I used to lie in bed, and when I was spooked or scared, I would conjure the 4 archangels around my bed. I was Christian at the time. And I would have Jesus above. And I would have this visualization. It would bring me a great deal of comfort. I would have to utter their names. And what's fascinating is that actually the history of the lesser banishing ritual actually ties through Jewish bedtime prayers. And so I was like, what the hell? Like I used to always forget the name of the fourth archangel. It's just, I mean, it's Auriel, obviously, and I used to say Uriel, which is like the masculine version of that, but I always forget that bloody name. I don't know why. And Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, easy. And then I was like, what's the fucking fourth one? I can't remember. I'd be there terrified, thinking, oh, what's that name? What's that name? I have always been fascinated by the mystical, and the magical is essentially like an externalization of the mystical in many ways. And for me, I just took to it like a fish to water. And I mean, what's great about the magical tradition is not only is it is food for the soul, so to speak, when you start really practicing these methods, but it keeps the mind busy too. Endlessly wonderful mysteries to just continuously investigate. And my favorite pastime now is just deep diving into a lot of the lore surrounding much of these things, and the histories, and the where it comes from, and the etymology. Etymology itself is its own mystical school. When you start getting down into like etymology, that's its own mystery tradition. You learn a lot just investigating etymological connections. So I hope that answered your question. But I've just always been drawn to it. I've always basically done it in one form or another. And when it came to the OTA, I just found that it resonated with everything that I wanted and loved and did already in many regards.
And is that where then you met Poke? Is when you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I met him the very first day I turned up to the first seasonal. I can't forget it. He hates me telling the story, so I won't tell it. But it was an absolute pleasure to meet him, and he's a very down to earth kind of guy. Can be kind of gruff, and we all love it. He's a no nonsense kind of guy, and it was an absolute pleasure. And I've been working very closely with him since I was dispossessed of my own job during the pandemic, as most of us were. And he actually gave me a job basically being his full-time assistant, doing things like, again, typesetting books. And so he had a bunch of projects on his project board that were just kind of sitting there for about 10 years. Because essentially he was we would say, content creator for the OTA. And as obviously he started to get a bit older, it became much more difficult for him to get around and to do things. And so when I turn up and I offered my services to make sure that his concepts, his project board would be cleared, his books would get out, and I think we've done 5 or 6, titles, definitely inclusive of the American Magick series, which was huge. Working with director Johnny Royal on that was it was wonderful, insane, crazy, but really good. I highly recommend everyone go and check it out. It's on YouTube. I think you have to pay a couple of bucks, but it's well worth it, and good fun. And you really get to see very high quality production. And that's basically what I've been trying to do, is get Poke's products or ideas and turn them into good things that people want to buy, like a really nice Smith sewn hardcover doorstopper of a book with a cute little ribbon. Things like that has been what he's been getting me to do. And I've just over time become in his own words, his right-hand man and his deputy, So, and I just try to keep him creating, keep him going, keep him moving, keep him kicking, jumping in his pool and having a good time. That's I try to make sure he's creating right until he can't create anymore. So, and it's absolutely been an honor of my life to be able to do that. So,
That's a crazy story, man. That's awesome stuff. So definitely an experience. Makes me think of Ronnie Pontiac that I've had on that worked with under Manly P. Hall.
Right.
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is I very much would love to be able to put on a resume all of the random shit that I've done to just keep the ball rolling, from typesetting. I'm a lot of chauffeuring, but it's like, you know, cleaning, organizing, facilitating. I became a producer on the American Magic series by sheer dint of doing all of the scud work behind the scenes. Like, I was just running around collecting things, making sure people were where they needed to be when they needed to be, because I mean, the production crew were not entirely aware of all of the weird magical things that we were doing, and the magical team were not aware of all of the things that the production crew were doing. But I've done both throughout my life, so I found myself running in between, and I did so much crap that I was slapped with a producer credit. Earned or not, I don't know, but I am. And I ended up as a producer on the series. I contributed my own content to the series too, because it was stuff that Poke wanted to get out there. He very much believes get there first. I'm like, okay, well, this is the quick way to publish it, so let's do it this way. And again, that series is an expansion on his work, not a replacement for his work. This is important that people need to realize that the period of time that has elapsed between 1990 and 2020 is it does not rewrite anything. It's an expansion on the series, on his work, and he's very clear when we started in the project that would be the case. So, and he's got a lot of other things. If you go to pokerunyon.com and see all of his titles and DVDs, I mean, the man I'm helping him now actually to publish a lot of his fiction. A lot of people don't realize he was a prolific fiction writer in the 70s and before. And he wrote some wonderful little pulp books. I just helped him typeset and fix up his book called Night Jump Cuba. It's a fantasy novel about, not a fantasy novel, sorry. It's a fictional novel that's based on his own experiences in the special forces and inside knowledge on the Bay of Pigs fiasco. So he's got some interesting information on how that all went down that's added into that book. And he's got a whole bunch of fun books. I think Commando X, Drell Master is his own fantasy series. So he's a lot of people, an incredible artist, I might add. He's got this wonderful kind of golden age comic book style of artwork that I absolutely love, and I tried to colorize a lot of the uncolored versions and get them out on our Instagram pages and things like that. And if anyone listening is interested in following a lot of our Instagram stuff, you can find my specific branch of the OTA on Instagram through OTA is a OTA Agrippa, OTA _ Agrippa. Oh God, I should know this, shouldn't I? I should have come prepared, but that's not me, is it? Let's see. I think it's Agrippa OTA. Let's see. OTA _ Agrippa. My lodge is the Agrippa Lodge in Huntington Beach in Orange, California. So follow us. We do a lot of activities there. And if anyone is interested in the activities of the OTA in person, follow us on OTA _ Agrippa on Instagram, and you'll know about any of the events or places that we're going, talks that we're giving, etc., etc. And that's Poke, myself, and the other members of the order, who I always love to put forward. Their work is always incredible. So please give us a follow.
Awesome. Did anybody have anything else? Might wrap it up. Maybe around now.
Please do. It's all good.
Yeah.
I should probably get back to my 9-month-old. She's probably terrorizing my wife right now. So,
I thought I heard even somebody saying that their computer was dying like 15 minutes ago too.
That was mine.
I could be wrong. Oh, okay.
That's all right. I plugged in the charger cable. I got a rinky-dink little laptop here that I'm using. It's pretty good for $100.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
Real quick, Max, we do have a request for you to provide the website again for you in the chat.
Pokerunyon.com. Do you want me to? Should I write it in the chat? Is that what I?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, do that.
Actually, you know what? Write it in the private chat, because I don't think or you have to spell it weird, because YouTube will not let
Oh, I know what you mean.
type. Yeah.
Yeah, and also
let's
shout out to Tomb Birmingham 216 for the $2 super chat, right? They shout out to that
It was
person.
somebody. Yeah. Yes.
And no, I have not. No, have any of you read John Dee's 5 Books of Mystery? I can say I have not.
No.
Oh, that's a good point. So many occult books today, like old books from like 15, 16, 1700s. Whether you love them or loathe them, all of these AI tech bros have been uploading and destroying in some cases, but uploading all of these ancient books, all of these old books, because they want all the data. But their OCR sucks, so they don't really even get it. But all of these old books, grimoires, subjects on divine lore, these things which would normally languish in an obscure library, they're all online. It's amazing. We have never been in such an age where if you want to do some like really nice like magical research, you can transcribe, translate, get these facsimiles from various libraries, and you can like read. I love it. I'm excited about it because I've been doing a lot of it, where you can like reading something that hasn't been like addressed or read in like 300 years from a library somewhere, and be like, oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, sorry. I'm very excited about that myself. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. I agree.
Nerding out.
No, that's great. Man. That's great. Definitely would like to get you on again in the future.
I would love to. We are working on more things. As I say, a lot of my research that I'm doing at the moment has been into the Egyptian mysteries, specifically through the Freemasonry and the influence of the Egyptian mysteries on Freemasonry. Or rather, actually, it's more about, because there's like a good 1,000 years in between. It's actually between the similarities, the uncanny, inexplicable similarities between Freemasonry and Egyptian priestly practice. It's sort of like when you put them side by side, it beggars the question, which you're not allowed to answer. But God, it's fun. God, it's fun to point it out. So, like, as again, I'm giving a couple of lectures. One in September next month. I don't know if it's open to the public. I'm gonna have to ask the guys up at Sacramento Lodge whether it's open to the public. I think it should be. We're not talking about anything terribly secret. But and one in January. The one in September I'm giving on is on the Crater Rapport and how basically it's correct. And there's no reason for it to be as correct as it is. And it's correct, even when you think it shouldn't be. And then in January, I'm giving a talk through the same people on basically the similarities between Egyptian temple priestly practice as we understand it now, thanks to the endless laboring of Egyptologists and Demotists reconstructing papyri from friggin' fragments over the past century, and Freemasonry, especially Blue Lodge Freemasonry, just how damnably similar they are, and there's no reason for it that we can see. So it's I won't draw conclusions. I will merely ask the questions and give tantalizing parallels. That's my point. But we can talk about all of that whenever. I'm always happy to come on and shoot the shit whenever you want to.
Oh yeah, I would love that actually. And I really had a great chat with you. I really liked having you on.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah. And before we wrap it up, Judith, do you want to remind everybody where they can find all your amazing stuff?
Again, thank you, Maximilian, for coming on. Thank you, Nick, for having me. It's always great seeing Eric and Brandon on the show. Maximilian, when you come on, I look forward to your research or your discussion on the Egyptian parallel with the Masons. That's actually got me intrigued. For everybody else, you can find me on YouTube, Spreaker, and X as The Loon. Check out the weekly brunch and keep out for new videos.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Judith, and thank you for joining. I always appreciate when you make it. My man, Brandon, what's going on, Magus?
What's up, my man? This is a great convo. It's so wonderful to meet you, Maximilian. Yeah, I'm excited for the next time we get to have this lovely chat. Yeah. So, and as always, Loon, Eric, this is great. The great Cardinal Electric Head throwing down the brilliant interviews and conversations so we can all try to help out whatever the hell's going on in this world together. Just so everybody knows, what happened today was 3 Magi Press. The great Skylar Mathis just opened up a new digital magazine, and both Cardinal Electric Head, Nick of the Mr. Occult Reject himself, put in a submission, and so one of the first articles on there is going to be one of Nick's. I also put it in, and so we both have articles in there. Everyone should go check them out. My work, The Art of Learning to See. So yeah, go read that. We'll be posting about that. Alan Chapman tomorrow at 10 a.m. So all of you make sure to hop on YouTube and definitely listen to that 3.5-hour conversation. We go deep and we go deep hard because that's how we do at Magus in the Media. So subscribe, like, share to all of these wonderful people. And again, thank you all. Thank you, Nick.
Well, yeah, thank you, and thanks for bringing up the whole magazine. I'm gonna have to start remembering that. Bring that up more. I'm bad with advertising. But
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, definitely make sure you check out Brandon's article. I definitely think that's that's a message that I think could benefit all magicians. Kind of again becoming the sovereign magician. I think that's what it's all about in some points. It's, part of the end game. So thank you, Brandon. Yeah, and Eric, my man, what is going on, sir? How are you? Please let everybody know what's up with you.
Nick, Brandon, Judith, it was great to hang out with you guys again. And Maximilian, this was such a fascinating conversation. I am just looking forward to all the questions I'm going to ask you next time we encounter each other. So thank you for being here. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, which I know many of you are, once the show ends, please hop on over to my channel at Eric Arcadian and just give me a quick follow or subscribe over there. That would really help me out. Other than that, I will see y'all next time.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Eric. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Always enjoy when you can make it in. And again, Max, thank you so much. I really thought that was a great conversation. Talked about a lot of things. I really love the science aspect that you brought up, so I didn't feel too alone on that. And yeah. It was a good conversation. I hope to kind of go maybe down some other rabbit holes with you in the future.
Oh, love those rabbit holes. Yeah. It's endlessly deep and endlessly broad.
Yes. And thank you everybody in the chat too, especially with the questions and some of the stuff in there. And thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.